Alright, ScoutVictory@Cambridge.com. We're on, coming off Main Street. We're in Victoria. And now we're in Cambridge at the Ripberger Public Library. And we're going to walk in. And I believe we're looking for Ripberger. Oh, we got the butterflies on the wall here too. Let's take a walk on in here. Oh, hey there, how you doing?
How are you? Please come into our nice library.
Oh, well, thank you. And your name?
Roberta Rickers.
Roberta, Scott Osmond, VictoriaCambridge.com. Saw the butterflies on the wall. That's interesting.
We're having butterflies, trees, and things like that for summer reading program for the children.
Oh, okay.
And this used to be the Peebles department store, and then it was Pope's department store, and the Peebles family gave it to us.
Oh, really? How wonderful.
And the Friends of the Library renovated it, and they owned the building.
Okay.
It's the only one in the South Side area that is privately owned.
Privately owned.
The rest of them are all owned by the town or the county.
Oh, okay.
But ours is owned by the people.
Okay, very interesting. Well, let's go through the doors and see what else there is to learn.
And in the front we have our magazine section, periodicals, magazines, newspapers. We also have the silver Union set that was stolen during the war by the Yankees and taken up north. And when the general discovered it, he saw the name on it, and he had it returned to Lunenburg County.
Oh.
And Billy Newcomb made this walnut case for us so that it could be seen from the street as well as inside.
Okay.
So it's available for...
When did the library open initially?
This one opened about 15 years ago.
Okay.
But I've been here 31 years.
Okay.
And before that, originally when I came, we had a little 10 by 30 foot room in the town hall.
Oh, okay.
And we did children's program in the booking room of the police department.
Oh,
and
lovely.
We would say a prayer that nobody would be booked on Friday morning, and they weren't for 3 years.
Quite the education for the Tykes, right?
And then we had it out in the back alley, which the acoustics were terrible. And then we had it in the fire department and prayed that there'd be no fire for it.
Well, that was the same thing in the fire department up in Victoria, it sounds
and then we bought the building across the street.
Okay.
That used to be the Camelot restaurant.
Okay.
And then we bought the building beside it, and that gave us a 2,000 square foot and a 3,000 square foot building. But then when this was given to us before we renovated the Wren building, now we have an 8,000 square foot building. So,
okay.
and it's all on ground level, so it's handicapped accessible.
Very nice. Well, so you kind of had a music section as in musical library, place to place to place,
right,
until finally ending up here.
And we moved everything in this library was moved by, as we would say, little old ladies, and I was the youngest of the little old ladies, and we moved every book and piece of equipment across the street by hand.
Ah.
We would get out to the edge of the road, look up the street at the street light and say, can I make it past the middle of the street before something hits me? And the last one, Helen Buchanan came across the street on a gurney with a book in her hand.
Oh my gosh.
So we've enjoyed it because it was hand done.
Right.
And in here we have our conference room, which is used for AA meetings, business meetings, safety meetings, and this is set up now for our summer reading program.
Oh, okay.
And this
I see butterflies. Up in Victoria we have all these gnarly bugs that belong to Ms. Zava, I believe.
And the Villa Lobos brought these from South America.
Oh.
And they're really interesting. And in the case over here, you can see some of them have beautiful fluorescent wings.
I have to be honest, when I looked at them, it's almost like, okay, wait a minute, no, these aren't painted, these are real butterflies.
These are real butterflies. And here you see the sheen on them, which is just gorgeous.
Oh, it is.
And over here, they look like they're glowing because they're so, so pretty. And then Donna Pulliam and John Robert Pulliam made all of the wooden butterflies, and with Norma Dale Wilkerson set up the displays
Oh,
for us for the
adorable.
children. So taking a walk through the enchanted forest.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, I guess every woods has to have a wolf.
Oh.
So here's our wolf gang.
There we go.
And Wolfgang,
Wolf. I was going to say, where's Peter?
he came from the Virginia Museum.
Oh, okay.
So he's one of our visitors this summer.
Yeah, that's got its own zip code these days, I believe. Remember when there was a youngster. Now, Ripberger on the library.
Ripberger is named for Theodore and Virginia Ripberger, who bought us our first library building.
Oh, okay.
And they lived in Florida, and she worked with the literacy program.
I see.
And we started the literacy program in Lunenburg County.
Oh.
And he also, before, owned the Ripberger Furniture Company that was very important to the community because it had about a half a block of this street. And then they retired and moved to Florida. But luckily for us, they didn't forget their community. And so, in their
Now, was that sales only, or was that was that a manufacturing operation,
Sales.
or it was sales? Okay.
Retail sales of furniture and GE appliances and things.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we always went to them, and he remembered all of us here and said that he would help us with our library. And he said, pick a building and I'll buy it for you.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's very nice.
I wanted to pick this building.
Right.
And they said, no, it's too big. What would you do with a building that size? So we bought the building across the street for $27,000.
Right.
And filled it up.
And then outgrew it.
And then Dyke & Peebles gave us this one.
Oh, okay.
And his family, and then we moved across the street, which is where we wanted to be to start with.
Oh, there you go. And baby steps to get where you need to go.
And this is the adult nonfiction section. And the art on the wall, a Newcomb young student from Central High School painted all of those for us as a gift to the community. And this is one of the pieces of our genealogy section, in that was Mr. Hardy, and he was going on a fox hunt over at the Cambridge Hotel, which is now an apartment house. But as you can see, then they went hunting with suits on.
Is that back? Is the Cambridge Hotel back?
Back on 6th Street.
Okay. Okay.
And then the picture of Obama was brought to me by one of our children who grew up in our library and was this little summer reading kid. And then later he worked in Congress and in the legislature. And now he's Assistant Dean of Admissions at Mary Washington.
Oh, okay.
And so he brought us that.
What'd she say?
And here we have a circular section of computers that are open to the public.
Right.
They are
Do what?
fast internet
Right.
and free to the public, so they're great.
Oh, okay.
What was the first year that you saw computers start to integrate into your library systems? Kind of curious.
Give or take 20 to 20, about 20 some years
ago.
Because it was over 20 years ago, because it was before when we first started the literacy program. Because our first computer we bought with a Jeannie Blouse, the governor's wife, Jeannie Blouse literacy grant.
Right, okay.
And so I know that was when we first received.
Yeah, Governor Blouse is the one that made all the roads in Richmond, but
Right.
made it grow like
That's
it
probably
has.
the last time we had really good roads everywhere. And now we're going to have to hopefully get them again.
Yeah, yeah.
And with her, we thought it was really important to have literacy program because we have 42% functionally illiterate in Lunenburg County, which means
Really? Oh my
they
gosh.
read below a 4th grade level.
Right, okay.
And so we had an ABE class, which is below, from beginning 0 reading up to level 4. And then GED for high school. And now we are still having that program in our library after 20-some years.
Oh, okay.
So we're real pleased with what it's
There
meant
we
for
go.
the people. And over here in
Okay.
this
Oh,
section,
I caught an old friend of mine there. Good old Steven Tyler from Aerosmith.
which one is that?
Steve, right there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. But remember seeing him at the mosque
Right.
when they first opened back. I
Right.
think Golden Earring opened for them. But it's amazing some of the longevity of the rock stars still doing it. Stones are out on their 50th tour. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, we have approximately
anniversary.
36,000
Books.
in
Okay.
this library.
Wow.
And in Books and People, I'm not sure because I haven't checked up on the last statistics, but I know it was in People and Books 143,000 in one of the years' time.
Okay.
And when I started, it was 6,000.
Oh boy.
So we have, and these are books to sell,
There's
which
growth.
anybody can afford. 10 cents
Oh
for
my
a
gosh.
paperback,
Sure.
and 50
Sure.
cents
That's
for a
wonderful.
hardback. And
Well, the computers, the tablets, the smartphones, there's nothing to beat holding a book.
and over here the genealogy section, and in here the genealogy section.
Oh, okay.
And then we have a microfilm roll reel, and then some of the archives that have been given to us over the years that belong to the town.
You have a fair amount of people that come through and want to trace back their...
People come from Utah, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
We think Utah has the first or best in genealogy because of the
Mormons, kind of a lot of Saints, sure.
Library there. But actually, we have people from all over the United States who come here.
Right.
Because Lunenburg was the third division of counties in Virginia.
I was going to ask Mother counties exactly where that came from.
Charles City was was the first.
Okay.
From the East Coast to Charles City, and then from Charles City to Brunswick was the second division, and then we came out of Brunswick, and 10 and part of an 11th county came out of Lunenburg.
Okay.
So we think we're the mother of
The
counties.
Mother county, that's where that came
And the
from.
one who wrote our book, Gay Neal, who wrote the book on Brunswick County's history, also did our Lunenburg Legacy, which was the first history book since 1927, when Landon Bell had presented the old Free State books.
Oh, okay.
And so at least we've gotten from 1927 up to current
Sure.
times. And then this is a new whole section of the library because it didn't exist before a few years ago. In fact, I think it actually came about after Harry Potter, because that was one of the first books that children and adults both read.
Right, right.
And so this is called Young Adults, and that would go from ballpark age 12 up through adults.
Well, for my mom and for myself, actually, you know, and that became obviously big with the trilogy, you know, with Hobbit and with Tolkien and with Fellowship and the Lord and, you know, the Rings. But, yeah, Potter put it on its ear for sure.
Right, that made it big.
It made it put on steroids, as
it
they like
did
to
wonderful
say.
things for literature, for children.
Right.
And then also we have a new section, there's about 200 in it, of African American Christian books.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
And that's a new section. Stacey C. Adams, who writes for the Richmond Times-Dispatch, was one of our first authors that I had met personally. And she had a series of about 7 or 8 of those.
Right.
Now. And she's one of our locals.
So you have a fair amount of activities and exhibitions and
Yes.
that sort of thing. I mean,
We
it sounds
have
like.
exhibitions on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And we think it's the closest thing that Cambridge can come to a museum.
Sure.
Because we show all different kinds of types of art. Oils, watercolors, pastels, photographs, like the butterflies, collections, whatever.
Right. Well, that's good. Well, within the site, there's a whole artisan section, you know, from that. And there's so many artisans and people that work out of their homes and their farms. What a great idea to have that, you know, kind of collective in a place from the website and that sort of thing.
Everything, and of course Antique Roadshow has done a lot for collections.
Oh, sure.
Back here we have a workroom, we have a couple of restrooms, we have a water cooler, we have really our snack area, refrigerator, microwave, and all for the staff to eat. This is the adult fiction in the middle.
Right.
And against the
Dean
wall.
Koontz.
Gene Koontz is big.
Yeah.
And then we have a permanent art exhibit because some of these are prints which we bought earlier and made a lending art exhibit out of it
Oh,
so
okay.
people could learn about artists.
Sure.
And then some have been given to us, like Sylvia Mahaney gave us this, and Eldridge Bagley, the
Right,
foremost
right,
primitive
yeah.
artist, who has an exhibit this week in Richmond.
Oh, he does?
Yes, he
really?
does. The gallery there in Richmond.
Yeah, okay.
And we went
I
downtown
just
to
put
the...
I just put a section together with artisans, then he's actually leading the section off
Right.
on that.
And he was in this morning, and I think he's done a lot too for people, in that this year his exhibit, the pictures were made smaller and more affordable because of the economy,
Right,
whereas before
right.
they were larger and...
Well, it's just up the shop, just
Mhm.
right up the street, and they had Eldridge Bagley miniatures.
Right.
So that's
So-
wonderful.
And of course, we remember when we used to buy them down at the bank for $2 to $4. And
Now, what other artists or other, I guess if you say famous over the years or whatever,
well,
hail
Nancy Green is
Okay.
a professional artist here in Lunenburg,
Okay.
in Victoria area, and she does portraits, commissions, things like that. They're excellent, and she's been doing that for 30, 40 years.
Wow.
And then Maggie Love, who just moved 2 years ago to Carolina. She was here in town, and she went to Europe and did some of her paintings there, and some of them were sold locally. And then there's an artist, I can't think of the name right now, from Charlotte County.
Okay.
That he did some works on Maryland, the Annapolis, Maryland, and the coast
okay.
area.
Oh, yeah. Gorgeous area.
And then,
there.
of course, McAdoo, who was from Outer Banks
Okay.
and did a lot of art that was in the White House when Jimmy Carter was president. And his sister lived in Victoria, and her son, Mark Staples, is an artist who does a lot of work.
Okay, right. And Mark, I think, had a large studio in Powhatan or in the Arts
Yes.
District up
And he
that
did
way.
sell next door, too.
Okay.
Um,
Now you mentioned McAdoo. Is that McAdoo? That name is that have to do with McAdoo's over in Farmville? I just recognize
not
the
that
name.
I know
Okay.
of.
Yeah,
But,
wasn't the most common of names, but.
Right. And then, of course, Christy Cruz did a lot of pottery.
Oh,
That
okay.
was excellent in
Oh,
this area.
oh, okay.
And so,
Yeah, there's a certain real synergy with solid type of art, with pottery, with sculpture, with metalworks, with things like that.
And
And Mark had done.
also Dan Larson, who was one of the first wardens at the prison here,
Okay.
Lunenburg Corrections.
Okay.
And he was, I didn't know it at the time, but he's the son of Chick Larson, a celebrated cartoonist illustrator who used to do cartoons in the Sunday paper, Richmond Times-Dispatch.
Okay.
Chick Larson.
Chick Larson, and his other, the one you were mentioning?
Dan Larson was his son, who was the warden.
Okay. Well, we have Gary Larson in there too, but I guess not in the same
And I talked to him
family
about
other than that.
showing some of the inmates' art. And he said, well, I do art. And I said, well, then do an exhibit for us. And he said, but I've never shown my work. And I said, well, then pick a month.
There's no time like the present.
6 months from now, and we'll
Yeah.
show your work.
Right.
We did, and he sold out.
Wow, that's great.
So we were so proud that we were the first ones who showed his art.
That's great.
And then we have some books for the United Methodists, which they get credit if they read books. And they're usually on international information projects, things like that.
Oh, okay.
And they're especially, too, on women and children. For instance, the children who are, say, 8 years old, but they're serving
Right.
in military in foreign countries.
Well, this has really been out now. What are the hours of the library?
Hours of the library are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 to 6, Friday, 10 to 5,
Okay.
and Saturday, 9 to 12.
Okay.
But usually, if you've got an emergency, call me and I'll come open.
Wow.
And we have a machine that was just given to us by the Robies a few weeks ago, and you can put a book under there if you have a...
That's what this is right here.
Yes,
I was wondering what that was.
if you have a visual problem, you put your book under here,
Right.
and then it will show it to you up into 16 different levels.
Ah, okay. So that would, look at the pixelites. So that would come in really handy for some of the older, more vintage type of things that are really, really hard to read and
all
discern.
you have to do is move it across the screen, and it will show it to you. And it was used 2 or 3 times the first day it came in, so we were real pleased to get that.
I don't doubt it.
And here we have some of our newest reference. In fact, this is a world book that just came out this past week.
Well, the way they did that with the spline.
Right. Now it has a parrot on it for this year. And then, of course, there's
Michelle's book with the vegetables.
New nonfiction, too, on Bill
O'Reilly's book.
Lincoln, and then we have Killing Kennedy, and that's going to be in a movie, too.
Well, now that was yours, Tim Tebow. That was very interesting because I think that really certainly exacerbated, made in a good way, a lot of the tourism to the area with Killing Lincoln.
It has really helped the Richmond area. And, of course, before that, it was also Charlottesville, and also Baldacci was big with writing, and he brought a lot of people in.
Oh, sure.
And
ooh, what's the story on this?
With the clock?
Yeah.
Well, we have apparently a real concern on what time is it, and how much more time do I have in the library, how much more time do I have on the computer, all of that. So we have a clock usually visual from most anywhere.
Okay.
And you sign in too and sign out. So.
Right.
And then the sketches here were done by Emily Arthur, and they were made for some of the older places or older sections of the town, and also then the Historical Society made note paper from these sketches.
Oh, okay.
And she's a college graduate now. She was in high school when she first started doing these, and she's now a nurse in Richmond, and we're really proud of her. And then these are our newest fiction and the newest nonfiction. And the yellow ones are the ones that we currently have copies of on the New York Times bestseller list.
Okay. It's interesting to see that.
And books are due in Tuesday, so that we will have new book
The
more than that.
1952 mark. We're coming to the end. What do we have here? What's the significance?
Anybody says, would you like this? I say yes, and then I find out what it is. This was put on the bridge that used to be a couple of blocks down the street that went over the railroad track.
Oh, okay.
That also used to be there.
Okay.
And so this was the highway marker. And when they tore the bridge down, they came up and said, would you like it? And I said, yes. So we now have that. Of course, we had one of our patrons who said, now the town will have to be called Ken because we have no bridge anymore.
No bridge.
And this was as a thing, an archive for our history part, in that was made locally out of the local sheep's wool in the 1860s. And the family who owned that coverlet, I think they had 6 children, and so they separated it into pieces.
Oh, okay.
And so one of the last ones gave us his piece to keep.
All right. Well, we have entered the Enchanted Forest and the library.
One more section.
And
here.
One more section to enter. It looks like.
And we have, instead of a giving tree, we have a little bird, a goldfinch or something in our tree, which reminds us of the giving tree, and the clock for the children, and the colors for their reading area.
And very nice.
We did have to get one off the table yesterday because they made I couldn't believe it. They had made a tower of the blocks, and they were going up so tall, and I couldn't figure out how it got that tall. And that's because he was on the table. But the colors from their blocks, which those and other toys that came from this state library that we have in boxes here. The children can come get the boxes out, play with them.
Got them in their cubbies.
Then we clean and put them back. And these are all compliments of the state library, because the Virginia State Library is like our boss.
Sure,
And
sure.
they're the ones that we model everything that we do after. And the regulations that govern them are also the regulations that govern us, because we are in the Department of Education in the state of Virginia.
Okay.
The Department of Education has public schools, public libraries, and public museums.
Okay.
So,
Well, they got a lot on their plate.
and we feel like we're an integral part. Yesterday, one of our Hispanic mothers came in and said, "Do you have books for my child?" And
Oh,
then I
definitely.
realized she wanted
Nice. Sure.
books that had Spanish words,
Mhm.
and we had those. Plus, most of these over here are all Spanish and English combined.
Oh, okay.
So we expect that to be a growing collection.
Right, right.
And of course, we have videos, CDs, audios, DVDs, all of the multimedia.
Well, place. There we go.
Okay.
Well, last pan through the Ripberger Library. It's been a wonderful tour to Roberta. And let's see, I guess there's some news on your end too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you just need to check out a book now.
I bet
Or
I do.
magazine.
I bet I do. Well, thank you very much
All right, and
for
thank
that.
you.